Welcome to Velocity, the Vista Chamber podcast. I'm your host, Chamber CEO Rachel Beld, and it's my privilege to interview the movers, shakers, and change makers impacting our amazing Vista community and beyond. My guest today is relatively new to Vista, but is already making an impact with his team and the community as the general manager of North County Ford. Originally from Texas, Frank has worked in the auto sales industry for over 25 years. He's a servant leader, truly pouring into others and into Vista. And I can't wait for you to learn more. Welcome, Frank.
Thank you so much, Rachel. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. So before we dig into your work in North County Ford, I want to learn a little bit more about you. So tell me, I said you're from Texas. So tell me about growing up in Texas. Where'd you grow up? You know, I'm from Fort Worth. So where are you from in Texas?
Well, where I'm from, we call that South Oklahoma, just so you know.
That's rude.
No, I'm from right outside of Houston, Texas, about 40 miles north, a little town called Willis.
Okay.
My graduating class was 196, and, so the majority of my classmates were very country. I grew up kind of sort of, I guess, redneck white trash, if you would, so to speak. We didn't have a lot of money. But I had great parents, and just grew up small town in Texas.
Yeah. Were you always entrepreneurial? Were you the kid who was like coming up with selling stuff to your friends or the lemonade stand? Were you doing those kinds of things?
I wish I was that progressive. I see some of these kids out here that are hustling, from the time they're 6, 7 years old on up. But, wasn't that forward thinking. Obviously, school and took most of my life up, but, I started working whenever I was about 14 and, my father worked 70, 80 hours plus a week and really.
What did he do for work?
Unskilled labor jobs,
Okay.
So whenever I was born, my parents both worked in, the oil field industry, which was huge in the late 70s and kind of crashed in the early 80s in the greater Houston area. But they were affected by that crash. And, our family went from kind of a lower middle class to, kind of below the poverty line. So, he worked a few different unskilled jobs, but worked a lot and very hard, really set a great example for me. But the only way I could really hang out with my dad was to go to work with him. So, I spent the summers from 14 on, working 50, 60 hours a week. And then when I was legally old enough to actually get a job and a paycheck, not under the table, I was working 40, 50 hours a week plus, even during the school year until I graduated high school.
Wow. So you've always been a hard worker, and it sounds like your dad set an amazing example for you.
He did. One of the best stories I could ever tell you. So he was, for a while, he delivered fleets of golf carts to golf courses or events for, like security and whatnot. And I was, around 14 at the time, and my job was to power wash the golf carts and take them off the truck. And one day, inevitably, Houston, Texas, it was pouring rain and miserable outside. And, I wasn't moving very fast, and I wasn't real motivated to do my job. And my father told me to go sit in the truck, and I had to watch him do my job and his job for about an hour and a half in the pouring rain. And it changed my outlook forever.
Yeah, I bet. Ooh, that gave me chills. So man, sitting there for that 90 minutes watching your dad do that.
It was unbelievable.
It's a gut punch.
He did a great job in teaching me how to be a man, a leader of the family, and work hard. And just nothing in life is worth having is easy to get.
Yeah, that's a good a lesson for everybody, that if it's worth having, it's worth working for.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So then after high school, you went into the Army. So tell me about that.
Yeah. So I graduated high school early when I was 17, given our financial status and unfortunately my poor grades, college wasn't in the cards for me, and every male in my family had gone in the military. And, I thought that would be the best avenue for me to kind of get out of that hometown thing kind of after high school. I'm sure that the city of Vista has kind of these things where these kids go down these paths right after high school, and it's kind of that point of no return. And drugs and alcohol abuse and all this stuff was rampant, and so I just felt like I had to get out. And so that was a great escape. And so I turned 18 at the In Processing Center. and embarked on a journey that frankly made me a man. I was an airborne ranger with 3rd Ranger Battalion, 75th Ranger Regiment, so I jumped out of airplanes and all that fun kind of stuff, and learned a lot about myself, physically and mentally. And it was a great experience. The pay was terrible, as all of our veterans would agree with.
Right.
But and luckily, I never saw any real world action like the heroes that we honor all the time. Yeah, so it was an amazing experience. Again, learned a lot and did a lot of real cool things and saw a lot of cool things. Really learned a lot about teamwork and relying on others. Rangers work in small squads and platoons, and everybody really has to do their part in order for a mission to be successful. And again, it's like everything you do in your life leads up to who you are today, and that was a huge point for me.
Yeah. So, were you always interested in cars? Was that something, or how did you land in auto sales?
This is another funny story. So, no, I wasn't always into cars. In fact, growing up, when all the boys in high school would be around talking about engine sizes and all this
Their
kind of stuff.
trucks and yeah.
I had no clue what they were talking about. You could pop open a hood and I couldn't tell you if it was a 4-cylinder, an 8-cylinder, or what. I had no idea.
Yeah.
And it really wasn't even on my radar. I knew I wanted a car and I wanted to be mobile. That's all I knew about transportation at that point. And after my term in the Army finished, I came back home and did what every kid did, which was some unskilled manual labor job. And I actually dug ditches. If you're from Texas, we have ditches. They don't have ditches around here, but we have ditches there. And I dug ditches for 3 weeks in the middle of summer in Houston, Texas. And the last week was in Killeen, which is where Fort Hood is, which is a lot similar climate to kind of like our desert areas. And
right, it's hot.
So it was unbelievably brutal. And I'm out there one day just literally dying in the heat. But, I will say this, I don't give myself many kudos, but I did get a raise my first week for my work ethic, which I'm very proud of.
Yeah, that's great.
But, so I was sitting there putting hot tar on a big concrete cylinder and putting it in this ditch, and I'm like, this is just not how I vision myself being. It's not what I envisioned myself doing. And I went home that night and I cracked open the newspaper. There wasn't no any Indeed or any of this other stuff did, right? So I cracked open the newspaper and there was a help wanted that said sales, no experience needed, earn 35 to 45 grand a year, which
woohoo! For
a kid fresh out of the Army making nothing, like this is tall cotton.
Yeah.
Especially with the cost of living where I was at. So I was like, this is a no-brainer. And it was a class on how to sell a car, and it's kind of scammy a little bit, but most of the people that went through these things didn't really pan out. But for whatever reason, it panned out. And in my first few days of selling cars, I made more money than a whole month of jumping out of airplanes and blowing stuff up. And I was like, wow, this is something. And that's how my journey started.
Wow. And so you've been at North County Ford for a year, almost a year.
Almost a year.
Yeah, almost a year. What led you to California? How did you get here?
So I spent the majority of my career in Houston, Texas. Worked my way up to general manager, by the time I was 35. And worked for a big public company that moved me around in different stores. So I had experience with BMW, Lexus, Mercedes-Benz, GMC, just a wide variety of brands in different market areas, whether it's, in a downtown area, fringe metro or suburb types. And somebody I did business with was buying a bunch of dealerships in Palm Springs and Rancho Mirage and invited me to run the BMW store in Palm Springs. And we went to Palm Springs, unfortunately, in the summertime, so that was a little bit of a shock.
Yeah.
Getting off the plane on the tarmac, it was 1:15. But I just fell in love with the scenery. You're from Texas, it's like it's flat. It's, the people are great. The food's awesome.
Yeah.
The business climate's great, but the scenery not so much. And I was blown away by the mountains and the palm trees and how quick you could get to the ocean and how beautiful it was. And I just loved all the sunshine, and we were just in love. And so that's what brought us to California. That was the summer of 2016.
Okay. When I moved here in 2003, when I first visited and did a job. I came here for work and had a job interview. I really felt like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz when she steps from black and white into color. It really felt like the blue sky, the ocean, the palm trees, that juxtaposition of the mountains against the sky. I really, truly can relate to that experience of just looking and thinking, wow, I'm in paradise right now and I want to live here.
It felt like I was looking at a book.
Yeah.
It's like when I first looked at it, I was like, this is unbelievable.
Yeah, absolutely. So you were in Palm Springs, managing dealerships there.
Yep.
And then what led you to Vista?
So, Palm Springs is a beautiful place. I will probably retire there. We still have a home there. It's a magical place, but it's not the thriving burg as, like San Diego County or, one of these other big areas in Southern California. And, I felt it was time to where I take on bigger and operations. And so I joined Penske Automotive Group, and I took over Lexus San Diego right on Kearny Mesa. I worked there. I ran that store for a little over 3 years. And I had known the Crowley family because they own a Lexus store in El Cajon, and got to be real comfortable with them. We became friends, and I've had a yearning to be a dealer myself, and working for a big public company like a Penske or a Group 1 Automotive. You're just an employee moving up, right? And my goal is to be a dealer, and this is the pathway to get there.
Yeah.
And so taking over a smaller operation, and really focusing on the people and growing it and all of that. And, hopefully, things will continue to get better and grow. And, my goal is to have a financial interest eventually in North County Ford and maybe some other opportunities in San Diego County. So my goal is to be a dealer, and you need somebody like me, you need somebody that's already a dealer to kind of help you out.
Yeah.
And so, that's where the Crowley family comes in.
Yeah. And so for folks who don't know, the Crowley family is the owner of North County Ford, started the dealership here in Vista almost 30 years ago.
We'll be celebrating that next year. I'm super excited about that.
30 years. Yeah. So, great family, definitely has a long time impact on Vista. I've been here since 2003, and our population has grown. Our downtown has developed. Our business park has continued to grow. And I think North County Ford's been a big part of that economic development transition for our community. So there's really a long time legacy there. So I think you've found a great family to connect with and a great place to put down roots. So that's fantastic.
To put an exclamation point on that, I can tell you in meeting with the family, that is literally one of the first things they told me is, get involved with the community.
Yeah.
We care about the community. North County Ford is a community business. And as you know from our meetings, we've dove in head first, and I'm having a great time and meeting a lot of amazing people. And I have to brag on Rachel for a second, because I started getting involved with the chamber, and I went to an event that you guys do, I think once a month, called Rising Stars. Mm-hmm. And for those of you that don't know, this event highlights 6 students from the Vista Unified School District and high school that have overcome unbelievable odds to achieve great things. Their stories were so inspiring. I mean, I'm trying to fight back the tears as I'm listening to what these kids have overcome to get to where they're at. And I knew that it's like, this is the community I want to be involved in. This is what I want to help. I want to go help. I want to help these kids. I want to get involved with the high school. And, give them some of the head starts and maybe some of the guidance that you and I probably didn't receive.
Yeah.
Because our parents just didn't know. And there wasn't, outreach like what we have now. So anyways, kudos to you guys for that. I just wanted to say that I love that event.
Yeah,
and,
thank you.
It was a great time to go back to the store and in our employee meetings and tell them these kids' stories and tell them how important our community involvement is.
Yeah.
But anyways, hat tip to you.
Thank you for saying that. We love having folks who care about our community. The stories that these students share are really personal and vulnerable. And so we don't try to bring just everybody in town in to hear their stories. What they're sharing is really, really personal. And so we are very selective of who gets to come to that event. And so thank you for joining us, and thank you for participating
It's my pleasure.
and for signing on as a sponsor for that program. And speaking of sponsorship, I want to talk about the Vista Christmas Parade that's coming up.
We are so excited about that.
We're so excited. So North County Ford is going to be the presenting sponsor for the 66th annual Vista Christmas Parade. Super excited to have you guys in. So tell me, what made you think about the Christmas Parade as something that was a good fit for North County Ford?
Honestly, whenever I started, looking at the area, after we, took the store, obviously we had things that we have to do inside the building, make the
Sure.
business better. That took a lot of my time. But, after a few months, I was like, I need to scout out this area. And I think I complimented the city the first time we met. That whole kind of downtown area is so nice and beautiful. And I was like, man, this is really great.
Mm-hmm.
And what a great place for the community to congregate and have events. And then, talking to the employees, which the majority of the employees are in the Tri-City area. And they told me about how many people showed up to this and what a big deal it was for the community. And I was like, well, we have to be involved.
Yes.
Why isn't North County Ford involved? And so we're excited. The team is we're going to assemble a team today to make a float. So we're real excited
Can't
about
wait.
that. And to be able to partner up with the city in such a great event, getting families out there, benefiting them, and we just couldn't be more excited.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. We're so excited to partner with you on it, and excited for all that you're going to do for the community, and the way that North County Ford has, over the last 30 years, really just shown up for Vista. But excited with your leadership to bring in kind of a fresh new wave of partnership. So excited for that. I want to ask you a little bit about your leadership. How do you motivate your team? First of all, how many employees are at North County Ford, and how do you keep your team motivated? Things can be up or down, especially in the car industry. So I'm just curious, how do you keep your team engaged and inspired?
That's a great question. So we have roughly 75 employees
Okay.
at North County Ford. Obviously that fluctuates. Hopefully, we're trying to grow that, and we have grown in a lot of different areas. I think the biggest thing that benefited me with regards to motivating people and leadership is, I decided about 10 years ago that everybody in the building didn't work for me and I worked for them. And if I help them achieve their goals, and, this business has changed my life. It really has. And, it's like the great American dream, that sometimes seems a little lost today. And, for a kid like me growing up the way I did, I shouldn't be sitting here talking to you in a suit and tie. I mean, I shouldn't. And, this is one of the only businesses where merit is a 100% determining factor on your success or failure. And it doesn't matter where you come from, what you look like, boy, girl, none of it matters. What only matters is merit. And that was a big thing. But when I decided that everybody, that I worked for them, and got to know all the employees and learn about their goals and what they're trying to achieve, whether they're trying to take over the world or just get a steady job and to take care of their family, whatever their goals are, career-wise, monetarily, personal, and help them achieve those goals, do whatever I can to help them achieve those goals. Selfishly, if the majority of the people are achieving their goals, well, the business is doing great, and that reflects highly on me. But it's probably the most rewarding time of my career too, because I've watched people. Our shop foreman's a prime example. He started, moving cars at a car dealership when he was 18 years old, worked his way to master technician by the mid-20s, and now he runs the whole shop, and he's not even 30 years old.
Wow.
And, stories like that really inspire me and really motivate me to be indefatigable and just to really help these people achieve things and remove roadblocks, impediments from, efficiencies and production, and, just really try to help. I guess that's the best thing. Just try to help as much as I possibly can.
Wow. So Okay, at North County Ford, everyone knows you sell cars,
Yes.
but you have new car. Tell me, what do you have? You have new cars, used cars, service. What do you got going on there?
Yeah, so we do a huge service and parts business. Vista is a very unique part of San Diego County. We have a lot of agriculture. We've got a lot of commercial business, and trucks drive that business. So, so we do a lot of, service and parts. Obviously we sell vehicles. Yeah. You can drive by and see the great trucks and cars that we have
really
out
cool
front.
Broncos in the lobby right now.
Yeah. We've got the Bronco. What a comeback that was.
Dang, looks so good.
They're amazing. They're amazing vehicles. But, yeah, so we do a lot of service and parts. We actually will go to people's home office and do routine maintenance. We have pickup and delivery. We help a lot of fleet accounts out that have large fleets of vehicles. We also supply parts to a ton of independent repair and body shops here in Vista as well.
Wow.
So we have a lot of local partners that are small businesses as well. Because not everybody wants to go to the dealer. Like I know the stigmatism with what I do for a living, even though I'm unashamed, it is what it is. And some people prefer somebody they know or an independent or whatever. But we want to make sure that we service them just like somebody walking up, because they're in the community and they're great partners of ours. So that's a huge part of our business. But we are truck country. We have a lot of trucks, and that's what we really focus on.
Okay. Well, I don't own a truck, but I strive to have friends with trucks, which is, I think,
you always want to know someone with a truck.
Absolutely,
that's for sure.
Absolutely. So is there anything else that you want to tell us about North County Ford, or anything that we haven't talked about that you think people should know?
I think we hit on it. The Crowley family founded this dealership in this community, 29 years ago, 30 next year. And, their focus has always been, engaging in the community. Obviously, it's a for-profit business, but, focused on engaging with the community and, stepping up when somebody needs somebody to step up.
Yeah.
And just making it better. I think that, you look at any business, whether it's mine or others, the ones that are successful benefit people, right? And that's what you have to focus on. And that's what we're focused on, from convenience of doing business to transparent dealings. I'll tell you, we even take a video. The mechanic, when he's working on your car, will take a video of everything underneath your car and tell you what's good, what's bad. So completely transparent. So, we just want to, we're problem solvers. We're not the factory, right? So, sometimes there's issues that need to be resolved or attended to, and that's what a franchise dealer does, and that's why they're in the community. Is to help on a person-to-person level, and that's what our focus is.
That's great. Oftentimes people, ask the chamber, are you gonna, how do you feel about businesses, and are things good? And I continue to say I truly believe that businesses can provide great service or products, treat their employees well, treat their customers well, treat the world well, and still make a profit. And it's possible to do all of those things.
Absolutely.
And the best businesses, like you say, do those things and do them well. And you can make a profit and still care for all of the people in your charge. So I love hearing business leaders echo those sentiments and to say those things too. I think that's awesome. I'm so excited for the parade. Can't wait to see what your float is going to look like.
Yeah, we're excited about it too.
And very excited for next year to celebrate 30 years of North County Ford. I know you guys will be at our Heroes of Vista event on March 14th, getting an award for longevity, 30 years in business, which is amazing. And I just want to congratulate you and thank you for taking the time to share a bit about your story with me today. And so before we wrap up, I do have a few rapid fire questions I have to ask you. Okay, so tell me a book you think everyone should read.
There's quite a few. I mean, that's an endless thing, but one of my favorites is Behold a Pale Horse by Milton William Cooper. Just really goes into kind of the world history and the history that's not necessarily in our history books, and I love the adage, if you don't know the history, we're doomed to repeat it. So that's one of my favorites.
Okay, I haven't heard of it, so I'll have to add it to my list. Thank you.
No
Sometimes the recommendations I've heard of, some I haven't, and so I love to read and I love to add to my list. So thank you. All right, tell me your jam. What's a song you love?
So I have a diverse music likings, I guess. Growing up country, obviously, I listen to country music, and being from right outside of Houston rap is important to me.
Okay.
And, but I'm 46. I was in that kind of grunge period that turned into this alternative music.
Yep.
So my favorite band ever is 311.
Okay.
And the favorite song's Beautiful Disaster. Okay. I love it. But lately I've been on a country kick, and Cowboys Like Us with George Strait has been what I've been jamming lately.
Well, how can you disagree with George Strait?
You can't.
You can't. I was just driving to a meeting this morning, and I heard somebody else's car was just jamming George Strait super loud, and that's not something I usually hear in Vista. So I was like, it took me back to my Texas days, and we're close in age, and so I had a feeling that whatever song you threw out was probably gonna resonate with me. So those are good ones. Those are great ones. Thank you. All right, Frank, tell me something that inspires you.
I think watching, so it goes back to kind of these rising stars and helping employees and just all the things that we discussed, watching people, persevere through, hardships or setbacks or roadblocks and achieving goals. That's probably the most inspiring for me. Anything worth having is very hard to get, like we said. And, it seems like it's been my experience that, I've had lots of failures in my life, way more than successes. And, it seems like to me, from my experience, that once you're about to achieve your goal, right, your ultimate goal, you get one gigantic setback that is just a punch in the gut. And you've got to push back that one setback, push through that one setback to ultimately get there. And it's the hardest that you've fought this entire journey.
It makes you almost want to quit.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And that's when a lot of people tap out, frankly. And watching people break through those, barriers is inspiring.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, give me a Vista business that deserves a shout out.
So I'm going to give two, but they're the same owner.
Okay. I'll allow it.
Thank you. So Crozier's Flowers, which is right around the corner in North County Electric. So I met Carolyn Remy on Valentine's Day. So I am very ashamed to admit I was unprepared. I've been married over 20 years. I should know these things. In a panic at about 4 o'clock, I'm like, oh boy, I need to do something. And I called, is it Crozier's?
Yeah, Crozier's. Mm-hmm.
So I called Crozier's, and actually I asked one of our employees, I said, give me a local business that's really good at this. And they said Crozier's. So I contacted them. I met Karen, and she was a great person. And we got to chatting, and I found out that, they also owned North County Electric. And she called on me a week later to help her in a jam with one of their work trucks, and they became a sales customer of ours as well. And they're just really good people. The flower arrangement, my wife was blown away. It takes a lot for her to get blown away. Yeah. And they were so nice because it was a huge arrangement, and they saw that I was driving home. So she even made this big bucket with these rocks in there so I could set it in the floorboard so it couldn't tump over, just with that extra, And, and that's what you get from small business.
Yeah.
That's it, that personal touch. And I really loved it. I really love those people, and I'm super happy to have known them.
Awesome. I'm going to throw a curveball and ask you one more question.
Please.
What do you drive?
I drive an King Ranch F-250.
Okay. All right. I had to know.
I'm from Texas. That is the truck. Just so everybody knows. If you have a King Ranch truck, it is the one.
That's the one.
I was so excited when I got to drive that thing. I've driven Lexus and BMWs and stuff my whole life. This is my favorite one I've ever driven.
All right. Awesome. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh,
really
it's my pleasure.
It.
I enjoyed it.
Had fun chatting with you today. Thank you.
I did too. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you to my guest, Frank Pierce from North County Ford, and thank you for listening to Velocity. If you like what you heard, please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and tell a friend. Help us move Vista forward with Velocity. The Vista Chamber of Commerce is a nonprofit organization that serves as a catalyst for business growth. Find us online at vistachamber.org.